It's hard to stay up, it's been a long, long day. And you got the sad man at your door. But hang on, leave the radio on, and let's do it anyway. It's okay, you can always sleep through class tomorrow, okay? Hey, hey, tomorrow's just your future yesterday.
Howdy, everybody. This is Matt Sapienza here on the Morning Wake Up Call. You know, everyone at the station, and I'm sure around the world, loves the classic animated movie Anastasia. Well, recently, that movie's been turned into a musical show on Broadway, and audiences have been flocking to the WRHU Theater on 44th Street for the last year, seeing it with great reviews. And this is the first at the station. It's the first we've ever had royalty here at the station, because on the line, we have Anastasia herself on the line, the princess of Broadway herself, Christy Altomare. Welcome to the Morning Wake Up Call.
Yay! Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, our pleasure.
Thank you. If I was there physically, I'd knight you or crown you or something. What do they do? I don't know.
Whatever they do in royalty these days, huh? Well,
yes.
First off, how's Anastasia going?
It's amazing. I mean, I've been doing it for over a year now, and I love it. It's a dream come true. It means so much to me. I grew up with the animated classic, but I also love Russian history. So there's so many reasons why this has just been a dream for me.
It's a fantastic show. How'd you first get the role?
Well, it was just the basic way you'd think you'd get a role. I went in and I auditioned, and then they asked me to come back later to do what they call is a chemistry call, which means they have you audition with other leading men to see if you have chemistry. So I went back, and it just so happened that they paired me with somebody who I'd worked with before, that I was really good friends with, that we had played love interest before. And in my mind, it was like, oh, well, I'm just going to have so much fun and enjoy this audition, whether I get it or not. And then luckily, we both ended up booking the part together.
Amazing. Well, what show did you do with him? What did you do before Anastasia, I should say?
His name was Derek Klena, and we did Carrie the Musical together. Kind of a totally different show than Anastasia. It's a horror musical. Well, actually, not really. It's based off the cult classic Carrie the movie with Sissy Spacek, and so it was incredible. We did that off Broadway, and it has this amazing cult classic following now. I really think it should. So many people know about it, and so many high schools around the world or around the country are doing it. Uh-huh. So at this point, I think it could have legs if they wanted to do a revamp and bring Carrie to Broadway now. I think it could happen.
It would work fantastic. I feel like Rocky Horror Picture Show would work just as well on Broadway.
I know. Well, you know what? That one has come back a couple times. Like, it's been revived a few times. Whereas Carrie, the musical, even though it did have a very short run on Broadway, this newer version, although it is the same Carrie the Musical, they did add some music to it, some songs, some new harmonies and things. So it really is, in a way, like a revamping and a retelling of the story, of the musical. So it would be a kind of this like new special thing if it were to make it to Broadway one day. And it's ironic that we're talking about this during the like fall season, which is usually when Carrie is done.
Yeah. And we're recording this on Halloween.
Yes, I didn't want to say, but we are.
The spookiest day of all.
I know.
So, how does it feel headlining a show? Your face is all over the marquee and everywhere. How does it feel walking into the office and being like, "Yep, that's me"? Must be exhilarating, right?
It's totally surreal walking down the street. And well, during the first year, the picture of the marquee was of me running into the distance, which I thought was just so genius and beautiful. And then the second year, they used my face, which was just such an honor to me, and like a big, just like nothing a surprise, something I would have never expected. Uh-huh. And for a while, they were using it as their ad campaign when they would market the show. And I thought, oh, they wouldn't put it on the actual marquee. And then a couple, like a month later, after they had been marketing it with these new pictures, they have my face on the marquee. So it's just pretty surreal.
Well, what's the hardest part about playing Anastasia?
You know, nobody really ever tells you about how, when you do an 8-show week, that you don't really have much time for anything else. So it's hard because, in a way, when you play the lead in a Broadway show, there's so many demanding things that you have to do for your actual job. Mm-hmm. And then, in a way, it's exciting because you're the lead in this Broadway show. So because there's this bit of stardust on you, people remember you and they ask you to do concerts and they ask you to do appearances, or they ask you to come to things that you may not have been asked to do had you not been in a Broadway show, and you don't have time for that. So It's really sad because you want to get to do everything, but you have to be really selective on how and where you place your time, or else you get burnt out. Mm-hmm. So it's been a tricky thing to maneuver around. So I guess that's been my biggest challenge. But other than that, the show itself is a dream, you know, to get to take this character that was in an animated film and, you know, this person who existed in life, and to marry the two and have this story come on the stage for the first time in musical form in this way. It's just unbelievable, the response that we've gotten from fans who love the show and who have watched the movie so many times. Mm-hmm. But then also people who knew nothing about Russian history and knew nothing about anything. Yeah. At the stage door yesterday, there was a guy who said, I knew nothing about this story or this show or the history, and I just cried 4 or 5 times, and I just love it, and thank you, you know?
Yeah, I will admit I did shed a tear during A Cast of Thousands number. That was absolutely beautiful.
Yes. It's one of the prettiest duets. A lot of people don't know this when the people who love the animated film. There's only, I think, up to 6 or 8 songs I think it's like 6 actually songs that we used from that. There's not many songs in the animated one. And in this one, there's like 18 or 19 songs. Mm-hmm. So there's so much new material that's in this show that just makes you feel, you know, and just like touches your heart in the same exact way that the animated film songs do.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of the animated film, I recently read that you recorded the signature song from Anastasia, Journey to the Past, with the original voice actress from the movie. What was that like? How was that? Liz Calloway.
One thing that's been really cool has been getting to meet, you know, idols of yours from when you were younger. I saw Liz Calloway in Cats play Grisabella at the Winter Garden Theater.
No way.
That was the very first Broadway show that I had ever seen when I was a kid. And I've always been a fan of her work. You know, she did Baby the musical and just everything that she's ever done. I've just been a fan of her voice and a fan of her. And then when I got in the show, she came to our opening night at our out-of-town tryout in Hartford, Connecticut. And I got to meet her, and she was so lovely and wonderful and kind to me and gracious and just beautiful. And so then when they asked us to sing this song together, it was like our voices just happened to blend so beautifully and so naturally together that it was just this perfect fit. You know, that doesn't always happen in situations like that. And her voice is just like butter. And so the two of us, we just blended so well.
It sounded terrific. I was actually listening to it just before we recorded this interview. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, she does a great job. And actually, you can purchase it now because we actually did a studio recording with Stephen Flaherty, the guy who wrote the songs with Lynn Ahrens. He's playing the piano.
No way.
And and it's the two of us singing, and you can buy the song online, or you can listen to it on Spotify. So yeah.
Like, do you still get like the pre-show jitters? I remember when I did theater, I always got the last-minute stage fright. Like that. Thankfully, on radio, they can't see you shake. But does that ever happen to you? Do you still get the pre-show jitters?
I think that anyone who says that they don't get nervous anymore is crazy.
Likewise.
I mean, do you still get nervous?
Oh,
Once in a while?
absolutely. Like, admittedly, I was just like shaking before I did the interview.
Yeah, I get a little nervous when the phone starts to ring, or when, you know what I mean? Sometimes
Yeah.
you just don't, honestly, if ever you're meeting someone for the very first time, you can get nerves, you know? So imagine meeting a crowd of 1,000 people for the very first time.
Yeah, like every single night.
Yeah, 8 shows a week, but it doesn't happen, you know, it's the kind of thing where nerves just crop up out of nowhere. And so I could do like 20 shows and be completely not nervous at all. And then out of nowhere, I'll be in the middle of a show and I'll start to think in my head, am I going to forget all my lines right now? and then the nerves will come out of nowhere. And so it's just so funny how they can just crop in and out. But the thing that happens when you're an actor is over time, they start to become like an old friend, right?
Yeah.
You hold them close to your heart. You say, okay, here you go, old friend. I feel you once again. And you kind of laugh and you smile and you say, we're going to get through this because I felt this enough times that I know I can survive it. Whereas when you're younger, that fear can take you over and scare you so much that it's hard to perform. But it's kind of sad, but when you're starting as an actor, you sort of have to push through that. And the more you put yourself in that scenario, the easier it eventually gets, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, trust me, because I still get the jitters all the time.
Yeah, it happens.
Anything funny happen on stage? Because I know theater could sometimes have its like funny, unscripted ad-lib moments.
Well, once in a while, a lot of stuff that happens is a lot of the funny stuff that happens in our show is between the great John Bolton, who plays our Vlad, and Lily, who is Vicki Lewis right now, and they're both like comedic geniuses, and they have this hilarious song in the show called Countess and the Common Man. And depending on, I mean, as you may know, the audience is almost like another character in our show, and so depending on the energy of an audience, they have this duet, and they will either milk it for all it's worth, or you'll just get the regular performance each night. And some nights it's crazy. The audience is laughing so hard, and I'm backstage during that part because I'm not in that part of the show. And so all of a sudden you'll just hear silence on the monitors, and then everyone's like, "What's happening? What's happening?" And we open the door, and there's just like laughter,
bursts
like you would
laughter.
not believe, from the audience, and they're just making out for like 20 minutes or something, you know. They're just doing crazy. They just have these bits that are just crazy. So you have to go see the show for that alone, just the silliness that just happens every night, and you don't know what you're going to get. It's just crazy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mentioned that because that's like happened to me a few times. I've dabbled in theater back in high school, and there was this one time where during a dress rehearsal, we were performing for a group of tourists that were visiting from Denmark, and I tripped on a crack in the stage and fell flat on my face, and and then I just got up and like I forgot the lyrics to the song, and everyone was like, "Matt, that was so hilarious." I was like super red in the face. I was like, that was actually pretty funny.
It's true, you know, things like that happen, happy accidents like that can happen, and I feel that reality is funny, you know?
Yeah.
Because everyone knows what that's like to be in front of a bunch of people and just trip and fall, or at least, I guess maybe not everyone knows that specific situation, but everyone understands what that is and what that must feel like, and there's this sort of cathartic laughter that everyone feels, and it's like we're all with you in that moment. And so of course that's what happened. That's amazing. That's the best story. I guess I don't have any situations exactly like that, but there was one time I was doing Spring Awakening on the road, and I fell to my knees for this one part, and something was sticking out of the floor, and I had to get like 5 stitches in my knee. But I didn't, like, I knew I was in pain, but it's like, you know how your adrenaline sort of kicks in and you almost can't feel it? So I knew I was in pain, but I didn't really know how bad it was, but I knew it might be bad. So I stood up and I finished the rest of the number with it leads into this group number. And then I walk off stage, and luckily there were a couple scenes I had during that time, and there were a couple of scenes that I didn't have to do. And so I ran backstage and I decided not to go on, and my understudy, who had never been on before, had to go on, and she had notes written on her arms that she was studying during the show. And then they were like, "You're on," and she had to go on. And the entire cast in that show, the entire cast is already sitting on stage. So she walks on for the next scene, and everyone in the cast is like, "What happened to Christy?" I had to go and get stitches.
Theater. Well,
theater.
Finally, I know a lot of people I know, myself included, are performers. Well, I'm not legitimately a Broadway performer. I'm just a comedian. Is there any advice that you would give an aspiring performer that happens to be listening to our voices right now?
I always like to tell aspiring performers to remember, and I know this is the most cliche thing, but I'll try to elaborate it. Remember that there really is only one you on this planet, and that you are so special. You are so incredibly special, and that when you're in that waiting room for an audition or anything, you're only in control of a couple things. And what I always say is prepare as much as you can. Try to memorize it if you can. Prepare. And that kind of helps bring the nerves down. And I always say, wish everyone well in your head. I try to wish everybody well in the audition room, wish the whole panel well, hope that they have a good day, hope that every single person that goes in before you and after you has the best audition that they can have. Because at the end of the day, you're not in competition with anyone else, but you doing the best that you can possibly do. And if you live in that place in your heart, good things come your way. They always do.
That's very, very true. Well, Christy,
Yeah.
it was a real pleasure having you with us for the morning show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure, too. You're awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a real honor hearing that from you, Your Highness.
Well, yes, I am a princess.
Thank you very much, Your Highness. Well, the show is Anastasia. You can see it at the Broadhurst Theater on 44th Street. Get your tickets now while you still can. And now, now we'll head back to the studio with Kim and the rest. Take it away.